bullish or bearish, whether you're a rookie trader or a rock star, we believe there's room for everyone. Every Filipino can learn how to trade. We're just your average Joe. But together, let's take advantage of the greatest equalizer of wealth ever, the stock market, where millions can be made and lost in a click of a finger. The journey to trading mastery is a lifetime, and we're here to stay. We are ZFT, and this is where the hot money is.
Sige, so before I begin, sa mga bago dito sa Ask ZFT podcast natin, this is conducted every Sunday. Usually, it's between 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. And hindi naman to sobrang tagal, no? Minsan 30 to 45 minutes lang. So, dito sa natin, sa podcast natin, we talk about different struggles of traders, especially in terms of mindset and in terms of habits. So if you want to contribute to our questions or yung mga topics na pwede nating pag-usapan dito sa podcast na to, you can go to our idea note. So i-send ko yung link dito ng idea note natin para kunwari sa next Sunday may naisip kayong gusto nyong pag-usapan natin, you can just post your question or topic there and we'll see kung maraming mag-upvote nung nyo, nung post nyo. So, ayan. Okay, nakita nyo ba yung link, guys? Nasa din siya, nasa TR din siya, pero I think wala pa kayong access dun sa other channels natin. So, ayan na. Etong topic natin for tonight, this is actually coming from someone inside TR. So, ipapakita ko yung natin, yung idea note natin for this topic. Ayan. Kita nyo ba sa screen, guys? Can you see it? Pa-confirm naman. Ayan. So, this is coming from Ma'am Jessa ulit. Okay, last Sunday kasi siya din yung nag-ask ng ng question which is about best practices after graduating from ZFT courses. So, ito naman yung question niya for tonight. So, siya yung medyo active now na nagpo-post dito sa idea note natin. Okay, so basahin natin. Practical ways to develop discipline in all areas. So, yun yung gusto niyang title for this episode. Sa trading, I often hear that the way you do anything is the way you do everything. Okay, sobrang ganda ng quote na to. This is one of my favorite quotes as a trader. So, ang ibig sabihin niyan, guys, no, is the process of you doing other things outside of trading, like even the simplest things like siguro pagwawalis mo sa bahay or pagluluto mo or even yung paggising mo, ano ba yung una mong ginagawa when you wake up. So those practices are usually reflected on how you trade as well. And you might think na parang wala silang relationship sa isa't isa, pero the truth is meron. So yan yung ibig sabihin ng quote na yan. So, if we are to become disciplined traders, we ought to be a disciplined person in all other aspects of our lives. So, parang walang exception, kumbaga, yung sinasabi ni Ma'am Jessa dito. So, if you want to be a disciplined trader, hindi pwede sa trading lang na ganun, ha? Dapat sa lahat ng aspects. So, my question is, how do we start on this in a practical sense? What if I'm not a disciplined person? So, sino dito yung honestly na masasabi nila na they're not disciplined? O, taas kamay na lang, ha? So, what if I'm not a disciplined person and I have to work out sobrang daming areas sa sarili ko like my finances, my health, my relationships, time management, etc. If there are so many areas na need i-work on ang discipline, where do I start? Diba? Talaga yung pinaka nakaka-overwhelm na question kasi alam mo and aware ka na something is wrong. Okay? Something needs to be fixed. Pero hindi mo alam kung paano simulan. So anyone who can relate to this question ni Ma'am Jessa? Paano daw niya simulan? Do I have to work on all of these areas at the same time? Again, another question that is makikita nyo yung sense of sense of um desperation and yung sense of being overwhelmed by the things na gusto niyang gawin pero hindi niya alam paano simulan. Like ano ba to? Do I need to start it ng sabay-sabay or pwede bang isa-isa lang? Pag isa-isa ko lang ba siya ginawa, is it going to be effective or hindi din siya magiging worth the effort? Ba? Parang ganun yung tanong niya. And would that be all right or would that be overwhelming and not result to the desired change? Okay, so ito yung part sa post niya na really captured my attention. So hindi niya sinabi na just change. Okay, ang sinabi niya is desired change. So highlight the word desired. Kasi pag-uusapan natin to later. So how do I become a disciplined trader if I'm not a disciplined person? So please give us practical doable tips. Thank you so much. So nandito ba si Nandito ba si Ma'am Jessa? Tingnan ko nga sa natin. Sa list of attendees natin for tonight. Ayan, okay. So nandito si Ma'am Jessa. Thank you for this wonderful question. Ayan, 2 questions na yung masasagot natin na galing sa'yo, no? Okay. So, thank you for this. So ngayon guys, I like to do this na medyo may interaction tayo ng konti. Ayos lang ba yun? Especially from the new TI batch. Kasi it's going to be boring or parang masyado siyang monotonous if ako lang yung magbibigay ng tips on best practices. So, I need some of you to engage with me either through chat or kung pwede nga audio tayo para talagang podcast type yung mangyayari, no? So, I have some questions here na i-throw ko sa inyo and if you want to answer it, you can just unmute. Okay, ayos lang ba yun? Sino dito yung willing na sa first Ask ZFT podcast nila na willing silang mag-share for the benefit of the whole group? Okay, meron ba? May mga willing people ba dyan na willing ilagay yung sarili nila on the line for this podcast para lang mabigyan ng konting spice yung discussion natin? Ayan, nandito si Sir Ish. Ito si Sir Ish gustong-gustong mag-participate. Ayan, we have Ma'am April. Okay, so my first question is, how do you define change? Okay, how do you define change? Ilagay natin yan sa PowerPoint natin. So when we say na you want to change, kasi yun yung nakikita kong nakikita kong parang dapat na gawin ni Ma'am Jessa and a lot of traders out there, and they want to change something in themselves, pero they don't know how to do it or they don't know how to start it. So in the first place, how would you define change in the context of trading? Okay? So anyone who would like to share their thoughts about this question? Okay, how do you define change? So yan, sabi ni Sir Ish, change daw is an act of moderation or alteration from the usual. So napaka-profound ng description ni Sir Ish. Anyone else? Yung mga willing na mag-unmute. Okay, you can just unmute your audio and pwede tayong mag-usap on this. Okay, mahiya guys. Okay, ganito talaga tayo inside inside TR, no? We want engagement. We want people to open up. Ayan, so we have another answer here. It's the act or instance of making or becoming different. Anyone else? Sino pa yung gustong mag-share? The chat or the audio? Ayan, someone said na it's about realization. So parang para kay Sir Angelito daw, it's more of realizing something is wrong and then doing something about it. Okay? So to replace something with something else, especially something of the same kind that is newer or better, to substitute one thing for another. Okay, so I think these are very good descriptions of the word change, pero I believe na medyo generic tong mga descriptions na to. I want something na mas personal. Like try to recall moments in your life na you want to change something and habang ginagawa mo or habang ina-undergo mo yung process of changing that something inside yourself, it was a very difficult but at the same time it was a worthwhile experience. So in those moments, how did you define change? Or paano mo masasabi na nag-change ka na? Okay, yun. Yun siguro yung gusto kong tanungin. Paano mo masasabi na nag-change ka na or nandun ka na? sa end result na gusto mo. Okay, so eto, sabi ni Angel ito, may painful experience na something. So parang sinasabi niya, pain is the catalyst for change. Okay, that's actually a um, good philosophy on change. You stop doing what you've always done. Okay? Accepting being uncomfortable for a while. And sabi ni Sir Ish, on that context, the act and experiencing struggle, basically parang retest ng resistance. Uy, nandito si Sir BJ. So, sabi niya, it's challenging your old ways. So, going back to our question, no, bakit change yung starting point natin when it comes to developing discipline? Because I believe every person na gustong ma-develop yung discipline nila comes from a state wherein they want to change something. Kasi if you believe na you're already disciplined and as a trader parang nagagawa mo, nasusundan mo yung mga rules mo and you have this habits or routine na kaya mo nang sundin day in and day out, I think that state is less about changing and more about enhancement. Do you get the point? So we're not talking about enhancement here. When we say you want to develop discipline, wala kang gustong i-enhance because in the first place, there's nothing to enhance. There's nothing to improve. Tama ba? So to start being disciplined, the first step is always to acknowledge that you have to change something or you have to completely shift from this person, okay, person A being you, to someone different, someone very different, like a different person, person B. And yung transition na yun, no, from person A to person B can be very daunting. And it is in those moments na talagang nagiging desperate yung trader kasi parang naiisip niya na alam niya yun yung kailangan niyang gawin. Pero knowing na ganito siya, knowing na eto na siya, before even trading, parang yan na yung pagkatao, yan na yung upbringing niya. It sounds impossible. Kasi how can you completely change yourself to fit the persona of being a trader? Okay, do you understand that? The truth of the matter is, if you want to be an effective trader, you need to be completely different from who you were before trading. Sa mga bago dyan sa markets, if you think na yung personality, yung kung sino ka as a person, okay na yan or sapat na yan na dalhin mo yan sa trading or dalhin mo yan sa markets, and the only thing you need to do is to just enhance what you have or who you are, it's not the case. And that's the painful truth. So, to Ma'am Jessa and everyone here who is listening to this, ito yung gusto kong sabihin sa inyo. Are you ready to change yourself, to completely shift who you are just for you to be an effective trader? Di ko kayo tinatakot and hindi ko din kayo parang dinediscourage. But this question is something that you need to answer now if you really want to take this journey. Okay? So are you willing? And I need you to really think about this kasi I know na parang it sounds typical na of course I'm willing. Ano lang naman yung change, 'di ba? Kung yun lang din naman yung kailangan para maging successful ako, then why not? 'Di ba? Parang ganun lang yung understanding natin or yung weight na binibigay natin sa question na yun. But actually it's deeper than that. Kasi if you think about it, sometimes the changes that you need to undergo are not only painful, pero it's like you're burning a part of yourself para lang maging successful ka as a trader. Ayan, sabi ni Ma'am Jessa, ito may isang Jessa pa no, from TI. So, I need to overhaul. Not just overhaul, but you need a complete overhaul. Kumbaga parang kung sa bahay pa yan, you need to completely renovate the house just for you to be an effective trader. And make no mistake guys ha, this is not easy. I'm saying na there is a way, there are practical steps. Hindi ko pa siya dinidiscuss, but there is. But as early as now, gusto kong pangunahan na it's not going to be easy. It's going to be very difficult, and you might be sacrificing a lot of things, even things that you hold on dearly before you started trading. What if ganito, no? What if for you to become a disciplined trader, you need to give up or sacrifice certain aspects of you or certain aspects of your personality that other people love? How would you deal with that? If that is what it takes to become disciplined, to become effective as a market specialist, would you be willing to do that? You don't have to answer, but just think about it. Kung yun yung kailangan, to sacrifice a part of you that other people love and maybe you even love about yourself, is it going to be worth it? Grabe, no? Ganun pala yung, ganun pala yung discussion tonight, no? Hindi pala siya like step by step lang, ganun. Kasi ako kasi guys, especially sa mga bagong TI dyan, when I give tips or practical steps to someone, I don't start with something technical. Kasi I believe na yung mga technical stuff na yan, you can just Google it. Tama ba? Like, try to Google, how do I develop discipline and best practices? Makikita mo doon sa Google ang daming-daming suggestions and self-help advice na pwede mo namang sundin. Kahit sa YouTube siguro, may mga vlogs or webinars out there that will lead you to these practical steps and guidelines. But this stuff is not going to make sense if in your heart or in your soul, if that's deeper, hindi mo naiintindihan yung weight of changing something, of really completely shifting yourself. Okay? So how would you define change? I think na sagot niyo na yan. So ako guys, if I were to define change, this is how I would define it. Okay? Wait, ba't hindi na-update yung ano natin? Ayan. So, change is a function of desire. Actually, guys, this is not coming from me. This is coming from Mark Douglas. Ayan. Si Mark Douglas talaga, no, lodi ko talaga yan. I've read most of his books. Pero I think dalawa lang yung books niya na talagang nasa market. No? So, yung Trading in the Zone, which na sabi ko sa inyo during TI sessions natin. And there's another book which is yung Disciplined Trader. Like literally, yun yung title niya. So if you want to read it, you can just go online and search for that book. I think may mga summary doon or like the full PDF version. Or you can order again from Amazon if gusto mong hardbound book talaga. So sabi niya, doon is change is a function of desire. So I want to tell you a story na sinabi niya in most of his webinars and nandun din yun sa book. Ito si Mark Douglas kasi, yung ano niya, yung history niya is nag-start siya as a trader, yung cockpit style of trading, alam niyo yun? Yung wala pang computers that time. Like nasa floor ka talaga tapos may mga cards ka that you hold up whether to bid or to sell. Tapos isusulat mo siya mano-mano and the other party will also do the same. At the end of the day, i-consolidate nila lahat ng cards na yun. So that was how trading is done before. And nung time na nagtitrade siya, he did not experience success immediately. Although even before trading, medyo financially ano na siya, financially above than most of his peers. Okay? So nung time na parang nakakakita na siya ng konting success sa trading niya, he wanted to do a lot of things. And one of the things na gusto niyang gawin is to run. Okay? Not just to run like exercise every day, hindi ganon. Like being a runner talaga. So he thought na in order to run effectively like how the professional runners do, ang kailangan niya lang gawin is just every day, at the end of the day, like siguro hapon, 4 p.m. onwards, lalabas lang siya ng bahay, put on his shoes, and then run as fast as he can, and then go back to his house. Akala niya ganun lang yung process. But nung sinubukan niya daw, okay, the first day that he tried, he realized that he is completely out of shape. Okay, hindi niya sinabi kung like gaano lang kalayo yung natakbo niya, pero sabi niya parang he felt like dying daw. Okay, nung first day na tumakbo siya. Siguro parang less than a kilometer, tapos after that sobrang pagod na niya. So he felt na he was out of shape. And ever since then, sabi niya sa sarili niya, I have two choices here. I either give up this habit, or not habit but hobby. Okay, this hobby of mine na gusto kong maging runner, or do something about it in such a way na talagang mapapalitan or machi-change ko yung self ko from someone who is not even fit to run to someone who is a runner. So obviously he went for the second option. And him being a trader and an experienced one during that time, meron na siyang parang systematic way of doing things, okay, outside of trading. So ang first thing daw na ginawa niya is pumunta siya sa mall, or I don't know, a supermarket, bumili siya ng small notebook, bumili siya ng running shoes, and then inuwi niya yon. Yung purpose ng notebook is doon niya daw isusulat yung progress niya every day. And yung strategy niya is ganito. Every day, meron siyang set goal kung gaano lang kalayo yung tatakbuhin niya. And once naabot niya yun, the following day, dadagdagan niya yung goal na yun. So for example, day 1, tatakbo siya ng let's say 3 kilometers. And if naabot niya yun, the following day, tatakbo siya ng 3.1 kilometers. So I think kanina may nag-mention about incremental improvements. So this is one of the practical steps na gusto kong ibigay sa inyo tonight, okay, coming from Mark Douglas' story. You need to apply discipline in a way na incremental siya. Kasi if you do it na parang tipong bibiglain mo, like if you're someone who finds it hard to wake up at 9 a.m., parang ako, no, ganun kasi yung personality ko, no, I'm not a morning person. So if you find na it's difficult to do that, you need to take incremental steps. Or yan, sabi ni Ma'am Helen, baby steps kuno. So if you're typically waking up at 9 a.m. and you want to wake up at 7 a.m. and for you that's discipline as a trader, kasi gusto mo na parang 7 a.m. gising ka na, nagpe-prepare ka na, makapag morning reflection ka pa, and take your breakfast, and by 8 a.m. nasa trading desk ka na, so that by 9 a.m. you are ready to monitor the pre-market open. Okay? So if that's discipline for you, hindi mo pwedeng sabihin sa sarili mo na from 9 a.m., sige, bukas gigising na ako 7 a.m. agad. Hindi pwedeng ganun. So you take incremental steps. Maybe instead of waking 9 a.m., sabihin mo, sige, I'll try to wake up 8:45 a.m. And then do that consistently, let's say for a week. Pag nagawa mo siya for a week, then you can shift to 8:30 a.m. Until maabot mo yung 7 a.m. Now, what if, sir, ang nangyari is, ganito, from 9 a.m., shift mo to 8:45, pero hindi mo magawa kahit straight for a week na magising 8:45. Mapapansin mo, 9 a.m. ka pa rin nagigising, or maybe 8:50 or 8:55. So, it just means na yung increments na iti-take mo should be smaller. Until such a time na maabot mo yung target mo na 7 a.m. Okay, are you following, guys? It's the same thing with discipline. Okay, at yun kasi more of the schedule, no? So, what about like sa execution? You want to be a disciplined trader in terms of your execution. So, ano ba yung problem? Okay, what are the problems in terms of discipline na napapansin mo sa executions mo? So, let's give an example. Let's say you can't cut with discipline. Okay? Nasa plano mo na mag-cut ka at 4% from your entry price. That's your standard rule. But you find yourself na yung 4%, parang the moment na tinamaan na siya ng market, the moment tinamaan na siya sa chart, hindi mo kaya siyang i-execute kasi iniisip mo na if you cut, baka tutuloy pa ulit. Diba? So parang nasasayangan ka na i-take yung loss. Pero what usually happens is, every time you think about that and you hesitate in your execution, mas lumalalim pa yung loss. So you end up, instead of having an average loss of just 4%, nagiging 5 to 6% siya. So how do you improve that? Di naman pwede na sabihin mo sa sarili mo, sige bukas talagang gagawin ko na to na 4% na talaga magka-cut on a standard basis sa mga tinetrade kong markets. You can't do that. So you need to start, again, in increments. Maybe what you can do is, first, identify what is the reason bakit hindi ka nakakapag-cut in the first place. Is it because you want to think na when the market proves you wrong, gusto mo in that specific moment na ikaw yung tama? Kasi pwede yun eh. Na before it happened, while you are planning for the trade, tanggap mo sa mind mo na you can be wrong in this trade. Therefore, nilalagay mo ng cut point. 'Di ba? Tama ba? Na the only reason bakit nilalagyan natin ng stops yung trades natin is because you know that there's a possibility that you will be wrong. Pero the moment nangyari siya, tinatanggal mo yung possibility na yun. So how can you address that? Maybe you need to be aware of yourself. That when it comes to the market, it's all about probabilities. And para lang mawala yung ganong tendency mo na gusto mong maging tama the moment the market says you're wrong, maybe it's time to do paper trading first. Okay, that's an incremental step. Kasi again, di mo siya pwedeng biglain, di ba? So, try to do paper trading. Kasi pag paper trading kasi, di ba, less emotions involved kasi it's not real money. So, it's more of just testing your rules, testing your process. So, try to do paper trading. And sa paper trading mo, try to execute it. Wala namang mawawala sa yung pera kasi it's just paper money. Try to execute it by following exactly the rule that you have set. Yung stop loss that you have set. Do that for a month. So don't trade real money. Let go of the potential gains na tinitingnan mo sa market. Anyway naman, yung market nandyan naman yan. It's a never-ending stream of opportunities. So why feel FOMO'd for just a month of testing your process or rules? So try to do that. That's an incremental change. Okay? Or if for you, gusto mong in terms of percentage talaga yung adjustment, you can also do, like instead of doing 4% cut, try to find a setup wherein the volatility for that setup is not, kumbaga, hindi siya yung tipong kailangan mong iset siya at 4%. Maybe you can set it at 5%. Again, based on the setup, based on the volatility of the setup. Para lang matest mo yung adjustment from 4% to 5%. And maybe from there, since nakakasanayan mo na nakakapag-execute ka na ng maayos with discipline doon sa 5% cut na yon, then the next time around na may 4% setup na kailangan mong execute, maybe it would be easier on your end. So there are a lot of ways to do this actually. The point of the matter lang na kinuha natin sa example ni Mark Douglas is to do it incrementally. So anyway, going back doon sa story niya. So yun yung ginawa niya, and every day he tried to run. Okay, he tried to run and dinadagdagan niya yung goal niya in terms of the distance. Pero may napansin siya guys while doing it. Every time daw na darating na yung time or yung schedule niya na kailangan niya nang tumakbo for the day, he finds himself with a lot of excuses to not do it. Kumbaga parang the first thing na naiisip niya the moment na that it hits 4 p.m., assuming yun yung time na magra-run siya, ang dami niyang tinitingnan sa environment or sa sa bahay niya para hindi niya gawin yon. For example daw, pag 4 p.m., tapos may favorite show siya sa TV na gusto niyang panoorin, gagamitin niya yun as an excuse to not run. Parang sasabihin niya sa sarili niya, ay, kailangan ko tong panoorin. I love this show. I can't miss this show. Yung pagtakbo ko naman, pwede ko namang gawin anytime yan. Pero itong show na to, this only happens once a week. So, hindi siya tatakbo. Or makita niya lang na parang medyo cloudy yung day. So, parang uulan. So, gagamitin niya yun as an excuse. So, sino dito yung parang ganun yung nagiging problem? Like, you want to develop habits, you want to become disciplined in what you do as a trader, pero you always find those little excuses that hinder you from doing so. Meron ba? Si Angelito lang ba yung ganun? Kasi kung si Angelito lang, nako, sobrang disciplined na pala ng mga tao dito if ever that's the case, no? Ayan, so may mga ano pala. May mga ganun din palang tao dito. Ako guys, no, honestly, it's not really a glaring problem in my trading, pero ako, I'm aware na there are little excuses that I'm also guilty of para lang that leads me to not being the disciplined trader that I want to be. So, common example is ganito, no? I remember like one of my New Year resolutions for this year is to really wake up every day at 7 a.m. Okay, sabi ko, I need to do and practice this habit kasi it's one of the things na napansin ko na present sa mga effective traders. Like they wake up early during the day. Nagawa ko siya for 1 month. So, only for the month of January. Tapos after that, napansin ko na parang hindi ko na siya nagagawa or nagiging inconsistent na siya. So, I tried to get to the bottom of it and I realized na yung inconsistency na yun is a result of me finding little excuses for the day to not wake up early. For example, pangit yung market. Okay? Walang matrade. So, the previous night, I spinned for stocks na pwede kong i-trade and wala akong nakita. So, dala-dala ko yun pagtulog ko, right? And when I wake up, the first thing that comes to my mind is, pangit naman yung market. Diba? Gising na ako 7 a.m. Pangit naman yung market. So, what's the point of me waking up early and prepping for the trading day when wala naman din ako matrade in the first place? So, natutulog ako ulit. And gigising na lang ako siguro mga 9 a.m. And that's the time na pupunta ako sa trading desk ko and still look at the markets. 'Di ba? So parang ano yung point na parang hindi ako nagising 7 AM thinking na pangit yung market. Pero ang gagawin ko rin naman pala is at 9 AM nasa trading desk din ako and magmo-monitor sa market. So those little excuses might not be really detrimental to you at first. So parang pag nagagawa mo siya parang sige lang ngayon lang naman, 'di ba? Ngayon lang naman. Ngayon lang naman. But eventually, mapapansin mo, yung nasimulan mong habit sana na maganda, nawawala. Diba? It's eventually overtaken by those little excuses and yung little excuses mo, yun na yung nagiging habit. So that's tip number 2. Okay? Coming from my experience and from the experience of Mark Douglas. Be aware of these little excuses. Okay? Not just to be parang kasi sometimes kasi parang hindi mo yan napapansin you're unconscious about it, so you need to be aware of it. Like kung kailangan mo siyang isulat, kailangan mo siyang i-journalize, do it. So parang kunwari today, napansin mo na I did not wake up early as planned. Okay, crypto trader ako. So 8 AM yung opening candle for the daily chart. I need to be awake by 7:30 so that I know whether I'll trade this setup or not. So, i-establish mo sa sarili mo na that's the type of trading that you want. And then take notes every day. Tingnan mo. Did I wake up today at 8 AM or before 8 AM? Hindi. What's the reason behind? What led me to hesitate from waking up? Ano ba yung ginawa ko the previous night? Ano ba yung first thought that came to my mind when I woke up? Na pwede na sana akong bumangon, pero I chose not to. Okay, so take notes of this. Kasi you will see a pattern. Mapapansin mo, like for let's say a month, 30 days, meron kang common denominator sa lahat ng times na hindi mo siya nagawa. Na hindi ka naging disciplined when it comes to that specific habit. And once you're aware of that common denominator, it's easier for you to address it. Okay? Do you follow? Gets ba yun, guys? So, That's tip number 2. Be aware of this little excuses. So yan, balik naman tayo sa kwento ni Mark Douglas. Ayan, may nag-unmute. May question ba si Sir, ano ba to, Ma'am J. Ward? Baka na-unmute lang. So anyway, going back doon sa experience ni Mark Douglas. So, napansin niyo yung mga little excuses na yon. And yun yung ginawa niya, no? He took notes of those little moments and he made sure na he was aware of those moments. And every time those moments came, parang the only way for him to overcome those little excuses is to tell himself that I want to be a runner. And eto, nung time kasi daw na ginagawa niyang challenge na yon sa sarili niya, merong parang event. Okay? It was a running event na gusto niyang mag-participate. Pero alam niya sa sarili niya na if he doesn't do the right things, if hindi niya na-develop ng mabuti yung physique niya for that event, hindi siya makapag-participate ng mabuti. Okay, so meron siyang parang let's say na it's a catalyst in the future na gusto niyang salihan. Okay? So every time na may little excuse siya, sinasabi niya sa sarili niya, no, I need to attend that event and be the best version of myself so that I can participate well. Okay, hindi naman na kailangan ko manalo doon sa event, but at least I need to finish whatever the distance of that event is. So yun yung ginawa niya. Every day. Just convincing himself. And this is where this statement really comes to light. Okay? Change is a function of desire. We all want to be disciplined traders, right? Wala naman siguro sa atin na parang ang gusto is pag nag-trade ka, you don't follow your rules, you bypass yourself, you sabotage yourself, di ba? Walang gusto ng ganun. But even if you don't want that to happen to yourself, you find yourself guilty of it, right? And that's very surprising. But the question is, how bad do you want to become an effective trader? How bad do you want it? Ano yung level of desire na meron ka? Is that desire more of a side hustle lang? Alam mo yon, like, okay ka naman sa work mo, meron ka namang savings na malaki, your finances are intact. Gusto mo lang talaga na mag-trade kasi parang it feels good. The idea of making money out of the markets while sitting at your desk feels good. And it's something that you can be proud of. Alam mo yon? I know maraming guilty dito. Yung parang driving force nyo is when someone asks you, what are you doing? Okay, ano ba yung ginagawa mo sa ano mo ngayon, sa profession mo or sa buhay mo? And you can proudly say, ay I'm a full-time trader. I'm managing my own funds. And alam mo sir, nasa bahay lang ako and I'm earning money just by trading. Diba? It feels good to say that. Nakaka-proud siya. But if that's your only driving force behind your desire of being an effective trader, it's not going to be enough. It's not going to be enough. Or siguro yung yung idea mo of trading is you just want to supplement your income. Okay? Supplement in a way na parang extra income siya na mahuhulog sa'yo. And for you to do that, kailangan mong gumaling. Diba? I have nothing against people na ang tingin nila sa trading is para lang madagdagan yung income nila. Kasi in fact, ako rin, parang ganun din naman yung idea ko of trading. It's not really my main source of income. And it's not really suggested for me to have trading as your main source of income. Kasi trading it's not a reliable source of income even if you're very consistent. Okay? That's the truth of the matter. Anyone who tells you na yung mga full-time traders out there are fully relying on trading as their source of income, it's not entirely true. Okay, kunwari ako, Ito, na-i-share ko lagi, di ba? So, aside from trading, I do consultancy work. I have Minerva. I doing some mentorship programs din inside ZFT. So, all of this are sources of income on my end. But even if yung idea ko of trading is it's a supplemental income, yung desire ko of being good or being the best trader, best version of myself as a trader is something that exceeds all my desires, all my driving force doon sa mga other hustles na ginagawa ko. Why is that the case? Kasi ang belief ko guys, no, if I will be an effective trader, if I will be at least kahit good trader lang, yung traits, yung changes, yung madadevelop ko sa self ko, just by doing that, will spill over to all the other things na ginagawa ko. And this is something na napapansin ko, not only with myself, but all the other traders out there. Ewan ko kung napapansin nyo guys, like if you see someone who you find to be an effective trader, try to notice how that person talks, interacts, how he deals with life, ano yung perspective niya sa buhay. Diba? It's really different compared to the typical person. And that's the thing with the markets, it changes you. Okay? That's a natural effect of being a trader, especially if you're doing it for like 3 to 5 years or more than that. Mapapansin mo na talagang the change is really natural. Ang question na lang doon is it a good change? Is it a change that is advantageous on your end? Okay? So, try to ask yourself, how bad do you want this? Do you have a catalyst in mind? Do you have a vision in mind na yun yung tinitingnan mong goal na once you reach that point, ready ka na as a trader? I mean, you have developed all the good practices and habits that you need to be effective the moment that comes. So parang kay Mark Douglas, 'di ba? Tinitingnan niya yung event na yun. What's your event? What's your deadline for yourself? Or if you have no deadline, at least what's that one thing that makes you want to become the best trader that you want to be? Parang nagsa-sound na parang motivational talk to, no? But it's not motivational talk. This is technical, to be honest. Because discipline requires that catalyst. Requires that level of desire for you to develop it. So si Mark Douglas, after having that event in his mind, napansin niya ha, siguro I think after 2 or 3 months, nakalimutan ko na, nasa book niya yun eh. Pero after some time, bumaliktad na yung little excuses. Yun na yung parang ang nangyari sa kanya is ganito. Sometimes kailangan niya nang sabihan yung sarili niya na wag na muna siyang tumakbo. Kasi parang sobra-sobra na in a way na parang naaano niya na ko-compromise na yung health niya, pati yung ano niya, yung physique niya. Kasi too much of anything is bad, right? So tipong parang when the time comes for him to run, like 4 p.m., 5 p.m., naging super automated na sa part niya. Like, kunwari, kahit ulan. Dahil na program na niya yung mind niya to run, gagawin niya pa rin, even if the weather is not ideal. Or let's say may sakit siya. Gagawin niya pa rin, even if hindi naman talaga, hindi siya in the right shape to run for that day. So parang, sabi niya nga doon no, sa book na, from someone who had a lot of excuses to be a better runner. Now, I need to find those excuses para lang makontrol ko yung sarili ko. And that's also a problem if you think about it. Pero that's a long stretch, right? Long stretch siya coming from the initial state to now being this naturally born runner, if that makes sense, na yung desire niya to run and be the best runner out there is always ever present. But yung stretch na yun, no, yung journey na yun na undergo niya from this point to that point did not happen overnight. You can read the book or kahit panoorin niyo yung webinar niya about the disciplined trader. Meron yan online sa YouTube. It's an incremental change. Okay? It's always an incremental change. And that change is always a function of your desire. Okay? Do you get this, guys? So, when we say that you want to be a disciplined trader and you want those best practices to manifest in your trading, it's not just about knowing na yun yung kailangan mong gawin. Kasi lahat naman tayo aware na yun yung kailangan gawin, di ba? It's also about identifying the series of steps na dapat mong gawin to achieve that. And it's different from one person to another person. Meron pa akong isang example, okay, before we open up the floor to some questions. Okay? Ito, another example from Mark Douglas. Pero hindi na siya. Kinuwento na lang niya. Meron daw siyang nakitang parang news article wherein there is this boy who plays video games. Okay? Yung favorite video game daw ng boy na yon is Mortal Kombat. Anyone familiar with Mortal Kombat? Mga ano dyan, millennial babies, diba? Yung mga pinanganak 1990s. Isa yan sa mga game na gustong-gusto natin i-master. I think meron yan sa Sega, and then PS1 came, tapos meron din yan. PS2 came. Honestly, we never owned any console, gaming consoles before, except yung family computer lang. So, other than that, wala na. Pero, yung Mortal Kombat is one of my favorite games. Kasi it's, diba, arcade games, favorite natin yan. So, he plays Mortal Kombat, and sumasali siya sa mga tournaments, and wins those tournaments as a boy. And what's so special about that? Can you guess? What's so special about this boy? This boy plays with his back on the screen. Okay, bakit ganun siya maglaro? Kasi this boy is blind. Okay, this boy is blind. So imagine a boy who is blind playing a computer game that requires vision, that requires you to see what's happening on the screen for you to be effective in that game. Pero this boy is blind and he is winning tournaments of that game during that time. Tapos lagi lang daw sinasabi ng boy na yun is, parang people are freaked out every time he plays. Kasi yun na nga nakatalikod siya. So what's wrong with this boy? And some people don't know na blind siya. But he always, or maybe not always, but most of the time, he defeats his opponents. So tinanong siya ni Mark Douglas, or tinanong pala siya doon sa news article ng journalist, paano niya na-develop yung ganong klaseng skill? Sabi niya kasi, the moment daw na nakahawak siya ng video game, he was born blind. So the moment daw na parang nakahawak siya ng video game out of just pure curiosity, it was something that he always wanted to do. And when he was starting, sobrang dami daw consoles, yung mga controllers na nasira niya, kasi hindi niya ma-figure out how he can play the game as a blind person. And eventually, na-realize niya na ang only thing na kailangan niya is yung cues, yung sa sounds. Okay? Yun yung basis niya for his decision making. So may mga sounds siyang pinapakinggan while playing the game, and based on those sounds, doon siya nagbe-make ng decisions. So yun yung dinevelop niya over a span of years. Hanggang sa naging magaling siya. And now, at the end of the interview, tinanong siya, what do you want to do? Kasi hindi naman pwede na parang maglalaro lang siya ng Mortal Kombat, di ba? Sabi niya, my goal is to become, guess what? A game developer. So you see? I mean, from that example, makikita nyo yung all the elements na pinag-usapan natin tonight. The incremental improvements na ginawa niya, and the failures that he experienced in those improvements para lang maabot niya kung nasaan siya. And then there comes the desire. From day one, he knows exactly na this is something that he wants to do. And maybe that's lacking on most of you here. Kaya nahihirapan kayong maging disciplined. Kasi maybe you just want to be a good trader and don't want to be an excellent trader. Gusto mo lang na kumikita ka sa trading. On top of that, okay ka na. Okay? So there's that strong desire. And there's that end catalyst na beyond trading, or sa kanya, in his case, beyond just playing Mortal Kombat or computer games, ano yung goal niya? So sabi niya, gusto niya maging game developer. And that goal of being a game developer is larger than his goal of just playing computer games. Although related silang dalawa. So that's my challenge to you guys. To everyone listening here right now. What's your end goal? How bad do you want this? Okay, and how would you impose those incremental improvements starting today? Like, what's the system? Do you journalize? Do you take notes? And always be aware, tulad ng sabi ko sa start ng podcast, na doing this requires a lot of sacrifice. And you might lose a part of yourself in the process of doing it, but that's something that you need to accept. Especially if you really believe na yung goal of being the best trader outweighs all the sacrifices na kailangan mong gawin at this point. Okay? So, ayan, no? I think that's it for me. So now I'm opening the floor to questions or maybe additional inputs. Anything that you would like to ask about our topic for tonight? Ayan, open natin yung floor. And ayan, marami pala tayo ngayon, no? Nasa 88 people. Mostly from August TI batch with some regulars, yan, mga dating TR members natin. Sige, so any questions, guys? Do you have anything to add for discussion? Kung wala naman, okay lang rin. Okay. So, I think no one wants to ask any question. Nasagot ba yung... Hindi pa ba si Ma'am Jessa? Was I able to answer your question, Ma'am? Si Ma'am Jessa may kagumpay. Thank you for contributing pala for this very good question. Sana marami kang natulungan, Ma'am, by asking this question and by me discussing it to the people right here. Okay, ito. So my question tayo. Is it possible to balance desire and contentment, sir? Absolutely. Okay, I think nasabi ko to in one of my... Wait, parang nag-post ako about this eh. Saan ko ba yun nilagay? I think sa Facebook. Wait. I-flash ko dito sa screen natin para makita niyo. Is it possible to balance this? Kasi I think ang question mo, ma'am, is parang what if you want something too much to the point na parang nagiging discontented ka na, right? Kasi parang hindi mo siya maabot-abot. So, here is a reminder to those who have this sort of struggle. Ayan, no? So, pinost ko to sa account ko. You can be frustrated but determined. Okay, pwede kang ma-frustrate sa current state mo, but it doesn't mean na you have to sacrifice your determination. You can be tired but strong. Okay, pwede kang mapagod pero consider yourself strong pa rin by consistently doing the things that you're doing every day. You can be terrified but courageous. And lastly, you can be hungry but grateful. Okay? So, screw singularity. You don't have to be one or the other. Kasi, sa akin guys, sa experience ko, yung pinaka-best state na napapansin ko sa self ko is when the negative and the positives are in at peace with each other in a way. Parang I'm not content, I have this very strong desire to exceed who I am right now, pero at the same time grateful ako kung nasaan ako. So once you achieve that level of, it's not balance but more of harmony in yourself, na okay lang maging ganito ka, but at the same time still stay like this. Once you achieve that, it's going to do wonders with how you do things. So yes, it's possible. Okay, if that's the question. Ang ano na lang diyan is how do you do it? So it varies from person to person. It still boils down to self-awareness for me. Okay? So ito, another question. Does desiring for more entails another change? Does desiring for more entails another change? Sometimes yung desire mo is not necessarily does not necessarily equate to change agad. Minsan enhancement lang siya. So for example, if you desire to lose 5 kilos, okay, sabihin natin gano'n na. Maybe that 5 kilos does not really mean na parang totally papalitan mo yung personality mo, right? Maybe it just means you need to enhance your schedule, add or commit to a certain day of the week kung saan mag-exercise ka, or maybe commit to a certain diet para ma-achieve mo yung goal na yun. So those are little enhancements if you think about it. But if your desire is related to a very big goal, like from being a losing trader to being a successful trader, so grabe yung gap nun, di ba? Then maybe that requires another change or bigger change, if that makes sense. Okay? So, another question from Sir Jacob. How do we get back on a lost habit? Like waking up early and preparing to trade. Again, sir, it's a function of desire. Okay? Alam mo, yung process of you to getting back that habit is there. Alam mo kung paano mo siya gagawin. Huwag mong sabihin sa akin na parang wala kang naiisip na way or method para maibalik mo yun. Like, on top of my head, I can think of just sleeping early. Diba? Sleeping early means waking up early. So, how do you sleep early? By not really overdoing a lot of things in the evening. Right? Or maybe ang kailangan mong gawin is during the day, you need to do what we call focused work. So parang instead of spreading your work to a lot of hours for the day, focus mo lang like for the morning and the afternoon. Para pagdating ng evening, pagod ka na. Pero okay, hindi yung pangit na pagod, yung masarap na pagod kasi marami kang nagawa for the day. You became productive. And because of that, you can sleep early and then wake up early. Right? So, sobrang daming ways para maibalik yung pag-wake up early. Ang tanong na lang dyan is, how bad do you want it? Ano ba yung catalyst or ano ba yung end goal mo dyan sa habit na yan? Kasi if wala kang end goal dyan, na parang tipong, gusto ko lang gumising ng early, sir. Other than that, wala na akong heavy reason behind it. Hindi mo talaga siya magagawa. So, kunwari, sa question mo, sir, you're saying na to prepare for a trade. Why do you want to prepare for the trade by waking up early? What's the benefit? What's the economic and long-term effect of doing that? And is that long-term effect or yung end goal na yan is something that you really want to achieve? That's my question to you. Okay? Ayan, so realization daw ni Sir Darren. Naalala ko yung nasabi niyo before about sa fear. I think that it's difficult to make changes kasi may fear of both failure and unknown, and that can be overcome with a greater fear. Yes, ano natin to, sir, no, sa immersion program. So sa immersion program kasi we talk about the effects of fear in your trading journey. Yeah, totoo to. Minsan ayaw mong mag-undergo sa change, or you don't want to develop your discipline kasi you think na pag ginawa mo siya, mas magfe-fail ka. And okay lang naman, no? I mean, I understand when you feel that way kasi we don't want failure, right? Gusto natin, when we commit to something, assured yung success natin. Tama ba? May, ganun kasi yung parang natural inclination natin as persons, right? Pag nag-ano ka, pag binuhusan mo na yan ng effort, ng oras, parang ayaw mong mag-fail ka. Kasi if you fail, parang it feels as if all you have done for that thing was put to waste. Diba? Remove that, guys. Kasi hindi ganun. It doesn't work that way. Lalo na sa trading. You can be You can invest in all the mentorship programs out there and have the best mentor, have the best system, have the best gear or rig. Like yung workstation mo, apat yung screen, tapos puro ROG yung laptop at yung CPU mo, tapos sobrang ganda ng trading room mo. You can have all of those things and still fail. Okay? The possibility of failure is always there. So if you fear failure, and failure is a possibility, what's the other side of that possibility? Kasi pag sinabi mong possibility, it's not assured, right? May other side siya. So, di ba? 100% chance. Nahati yung 100% na yan. So, if you have a 30% chance of failing, what's the other side? The 70%. Is that worth it? If you think it's worth it, then what's the point of fearing uncertainty when there's another side to that? Okay? So, yan. Thank you for inserting that sentiment, Sir Darren, Doc Darren. Ganda niyan. Yung effects ng fear and how to overcome it. So, I think meron tayong episode, Ask ZFT podcast episode where I talk about fears. Tama ba? Episode 15 or basta early episodes yun. Try to look for it sa Hot Money sa Spotify. Okay, so I think that's it for tonight. So bago lang tayo mag-end guys, promote ko lang ulit. So first is if you have questions that you want to be discussed in this weekly podcast, please go to this link. Yan. Ayan yung link natin. Dito kayo pwede mag-post any question na I would find na masarap sagutin or masarap pag-usapan. Sasagutin ko yan. So currently konti pa lang yung nandito. Parang less than 10. Same people lang yung mga nagpo-post. So please, okay, post kayo dyan. And then, another thing I would like to promote is sa Spotify natin. If you search Spotify Hot Money from ZFT, ayan, may lalabas dito, ayan, no? Nandito lahat ng past episodes natin na record or Ask ZFT. Ako ba to lahat? Hindi, may iba dito na parang coming from other people in TFR. Pero most of these episodes are coming from ito yung mga discussions natin na ganito. Roadmap, ayan. So ako kung meron man akong mga gustong i-promote na episodes dito, so I want you to meron na pala dito, episode 5, Being a Disciplined Rule-Based Trader. Baka pwede nyo itong pakinggan papunta sa work. Mental Wallet, okay, ito yung pinaka-famous na episode natin. So sobrang daming juicy discussions na i-share ko dito. Actually, lahat naman okay naman to eh. So, depende na lang sa inyo ano yung gusto nyong pakinggan dyan. Okay, so ayun guys. Thank you for joining me tonight. Okay, sa kanina 88 tayo, no? So sa 88 people were present. Thank you and see you again next Sunday. Good.